X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every X-Men story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I'm the bad boy of X-Men podcasting, Zach Jenkins. Adam, how are you doing on this beautiful British evening?
British evening. I don't know. I guess I'm feeling a little frosty, a little chilly. It should be springtime, but yet I'm feeling like I'm made of diamonds.
Okay, you're cutting glass over there. You're just cutting diamond right there. That what happened, Adam?
Yep.
Is that what I'm hearing?
Just slicing through it.
You got a little bit of pride in that, a little bit of prejudice, a little bit of sense, a little bit of sensibility.
Zach, I think you're giving away the fact that we have a very special guest here to talk about Emma Frost this week, and who would that be?
Coming to us live from wherever she lives, it is the co-author of the new book Emma of 83rd Street. And our friend, Emily Harding. Emily, how are you doing today?
I'm excellent. I'm really good, guys. How are you guys doing?
Terrific. Thank you for being here.
I'm super excited. This is a little bit of I'm a little starstruck. I'm on.
You're starstruck. We have a best-selling author on our hands here. So
am I best-selling? That's
I haven't looked at the sales charts. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, don't.
I have a copy. Zach has a copy. Everybody who listens is going to get a copy.
That part's not true.
That made it sound like we're giving away the copies. No, you have to go out and buy a copy.
You guys, you do have to go. Emma of 83rd Street. It's out now. Buy it at your local bookstore. Buy it on whatever e-device you want. Go get it from a library. It's great. You
guys do your own best-selling list, and then I can just always be at the top, and then I can say I am. Thanks to,
Oh, okay. So one above Hoxpox.
Right. Exactly. Hopefully.
Some have called us more prestigious than the New York Times.
I do. No one listens to me though, Zach. I'm sorry.
That's important. Now, Emily, for people who may not keep up with the world of books that aren't about the X-Men, where would they might possibly have heard of you from before this now?
From before Emma of 83rd Street?
Yes.
I've been writing a series of literary deep dive pieces about important subjects such as what Taylor Swift songs correlate with which X-Men character.
That's what I thought. I thought people might remember that.
Right. Yeah. And also, the important investigation of which superhero Robert Pattinson should play that is not Batman. These are serious issues that I think I've brought to the forefront for your audience in the past.
And I like to think that paved the way for your literary career.
You actually don't realize how much you guys have, by letting me absolutely run wild with the worst parts of my imagination, how much that's helped me. So
we were all going through it during the pandemic. It was a great time for everybody to just let their inner demons loose. Just like one telepath has done. And when I think of Emma Grace Frost, I think that there's a lot that Jane Austen would find interesting about her.
I think she would, though. I hope you're not saying that sarcastically.
No, I agree.
From what I know about Jane Austen, like Emma, which is the basis for Emma of 83rd Street, also basis for the movie Clueless. I'm sure you're tired of that comparison, but hey,
I love it.
People know it.
Yeah.
Was set out, and correct me if I'm wrong, but Jane Austen set out and said, what if I made a character who's the protagonist of this love story and she's just not likable? And she's like, not like a good person.
She was
good in quotes.
Yeah, no, I think honestly, Jane Austen started romance novels, and the first unlikable female character that people could relate to, that was someone that, I can see my parts of me in her, was Emma. Honestly, she really was, and I think that's unapologetically unlikable. Like, she never ends up saying, "Oh, that's a really awful part of me that I should change." At the end of the novel, yes, she finds love and she realizes the error of her ways, but she's still, those core parts of her that are semi-selfish and spoiled are still there. And that's okay. She can still be that person, and we can still like her and want her to win, even though she isn't wholly perfect.
Right.
So, yes. And I think
Absolutely.
Emma Frost can probably relate to that on many levels. So
I like to think that Emma Frost wouldn't publicly talk about reading Jane Austen, just because I believe there is a perception around her work. Mostly because the BBC has done a lot of adaptations of them in stuffy Victorian dresses, and I don't think that hits with Emma Frost's specific, like, her lookbook that she goes through. I don't think that aligns very well. That's not her brand.
It's more
I think she'd
Victoria's
enjoy it.
Secret than Victorian ball gowns.
I don't actually know when the Victorian era of England was. I don't know if we're even close.
you're not. It's before.
No.
Jane Austen was before. It's okay though. I think
Okay, that's
because
fine.
I think Emma probably, in my mind, she would say that she read them, and she would have only seen Clueless. That's what I think.
I like
If
that.
you ask me, that's what I think, Emma, because I think that she's got the feigned British accent, which I still maintain is the, Katharine Hepburn mid-Atlantic accent.
Oh yes,
She
absolutely.
learned to cover up her Boston accent, but I think she would like the prestige of saying that she read Jane Austen without actually having opened any of the books and just saw Clueless.
That's great.
I can buy that pretty well.
Yeah.
And, we are talking about Emma Frost, Boston's own, and what she was doing before she started doing all of these things. And you know what? We have a text for that. I know it's a text that's beloved by
Who?
I don't think anyone beloves this.
Hold
book.
on, no. I've heard people
Who?
who beloved it. I
Beloved?
do think you have to understand.
Are you sure?
And I've said this publicly on the podcast. Most people that are like, "Oh, I'm a hardcore Emma Frost fan." I just stopped paying attention to them really quick, and it wasn't anything about them. It's just I've been burned before. So
I want names. You guys can DM me on Twitter because I love Emma, and you guys made me relive this series, and it was, whew.
Well,
Yeah.
let me tell you.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm going to hold that thought because I do have some opinions because we've done part of this book on this show.
we've done
before.
the first arc of this book before, the one where she's hot for teacher, which is
Very
quite a
unfortunate.
choice.
Okay.
Yeah, but this week we are talking about Mind Games. This is Emma Frost number
7 through 12.
And this is written by Carl Bowlers and penciled by Carlo Pagulian and inked by Dennis Crisostomo.
And covers by the one and only
Greg Horn.
It's Greg Horn, baby. He pulls back on this one, compares 7 through 12 to 1 through 6. And Greg Horn got some editorial notes and said, she's like a teen in this book, right?
I don't think you're right at all. I think all of them are still pretty bad.
I'm not saying they're good, but compared to the first 6 that I would not have in my home just because there's a perception of these things.
I mean,
She's still a teen in this, though.
yes.
Yeah.
And number 7's cover is Emma, Emma, in
Emma.
adult Emma dress, with a "will work for food" sign by her feet and
that one.
It's
leaning
actually
up
great.
against a fire in a barrel. Oh my god!
I don't know, because number 9 has her in the most "I am a teenage runaway in 1998" outfit that I've ever seen, and I kind of love it.
Okay. I do think this arc is way less terrible than the first one. This one had the possibility of at least maybe having something going on, but then it never happens. So what happens in these issues, Zach?
So Emma Frost has run away from home and said, "I can do it on my own, daddy." And then she realizes that, oh no, she needs money. Which I do. I love it when someone who's had too much money their whole life has that realization of, oh no, wait, I used all of that money. That was super useful for me. She tries to do a couple of things, get some jobs, tries to use her telepathy to get out of the way and make money. Anyway, she runs into this guy named Troy, and he seems like generally an upstanding, decent dude. He lets her crash on at his place, doesn't make advances at her. He tries to be above board. At least that's how the book perceives him.
Yeah, but Troy owes $10,000.
I was going to say,
there's that
to this one-eyed dude.
I think Troy.
There's a
It's a big
cyclops in
asterisk.
this story.
It's a big asterisk to Troy's name.
Listen, what are loan sharks except for guys filling a void in our banking system for the underprivileged and doing a bad job of it? I am not pro loan shark here, but I'm just saying there's a market, and if people were willing to make more risks, then we could get rid of loan sharks and serve these communities.
Oh my God. Stop.
This book is covering so many. It's just so many
This
ills
is a
of
really
society.
important social book.
See,
Anyway, Emma and Troy do a casino boat heist.
this is
where
the part
they
that could
try
be
and win.
fun.
That part kind of is fun.
It could be.
I like Casino Royale with Emma.
Yeah.
On a riverboat in Boston? What? I'm sorry. I went to college in Boston, so it keeps taking me out. It keeps taking me out.
I was really hoping that this was going to turn into like Molly's Game, and that like,
That would have been,
she like turns into the wise, card shark and uses the like basic telepathy that she has.
I
control
did
over
want
to-
that.
to take over, and unfortunately this arc, just every single time there's an opportunity for Emma to have agency, just stops. And she doesn't, and then Troy has to save her, or some other thing has to happen, because folks, this is not the Molly's Game card shark thing that I would want, because oh God, Emily, why don't you tell our listeners what happens to Emma and how this story wraps up?
As if I could, you guys have 2 hours, like me trying to explain what ends up happening. Somehow they get the money, but then there's interest involved, and they have to get $5,000 more dollars, and it falls apart. And so they decide upstanding Troy decides to throw Emma under a bus, be like, hey, her dad's rich. Let's, put her in a cage.
That part's where Troy does turn a corner. I'm not gonna.
You're running over the part where they put her in a cage.
She put her in a, no, we're getting there. No, but, we're going to hold her for ransom, but we should put her in a cage. For some reason, that was required.
Hold on.
Yes.
They do have, and I want to be very clear about this. I think the text justifies this because they have a guy who had to get a loan shark to pay his way through his unsuccessful film school. So he's really just trying to add a little bit of gravitas to the situation. He understands setting a scene here, and if he's going to make a film, dang it, he's going to make sure the setting's right. He's going to produce this thing the best way he can.
As someone who is very in debt for a number of years to film school, I can tell you that he could have achieved that with some nice lighting, perhaps. But their cage was not required.
Okay, he was working with what he had in the back of this decrepit warehouse.
That's right. They're in this decrepit warehouse. Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot the scene for a minute.
The lighting was not going to work. He
really needed.
He's MacGyvering a situation together. Yes,
he's a prop kidnapper. So he puts her in the cage. They record it and sends it to Daddy. Daddy's like, I don't know, she's dead to me. So of course, Adrian, who I love her.
You love Adrian?
She's such a mess. She's such a mess.
She is.
And I do think I always wanted, and I never got it, I always thought her and Emma are just so similar, and it's like they're just two sides of, the yin and the yang, and she just went total bad, whereas Emma had the redemption. But she decides to put it on the news, which is the I guess proof of life video. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the whole thing falls apart. They shoot the upstanding individual Troy. The saint.
Troy does take one for the team there.
They send Troy's ear to the dad.
Very funny, actually.
What?
Love that for him.
This just went completely off the rails.
And hair. They had the hair in there too.
Yeah.
They took Emma's hair, because how are you going to replicate that with a dye job? You're just not going to get it.
No. And then his ear.
Which I feel like, I got to imagine, I'm not like an ear guy. I got to imagine like you'd be able to tell the difference between his ear and her ear if you look close. I guess it would be cut off. It might be mutilated. I'm going to rescind the ear comment.
At this point though, like that's the least of the problems with the holes in this like entire.
It's a bad plan. I don't think that Carl Bowlers is trying to make these people seem like they're good kidnappers. Like, no. I think some of this is textually emphasizing the plot of, actually, these guys are pretty terrible at this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. But then at the end, they decide to, she starts realizing, at this point, Emma still doesn't realize that she has her powers, which I find is really kind of like, or she realizes it, but she doesn't understand the extent of them. Starts seeding doubt in all the kidnappers' minds. They all are doubting each other. And then she gets it to, they all shoot each other, but they don't all shoot each other. It's all like mind game. It's like
they all think they shoot
all
each other
shoot
and
each
got
other.
shot by each other.
And she walks out and
with the money.
With the money. And then she gets,
oh, actually, no, not with the money, with her dad's ransom money. But yeah, so she steals from her dad. But yeah.
And she's getting, and the most unbelievable thing in the entire part is at the last panel, last page, where she's getting on a bus. She's got this money, and Emma Frost is getting on a bus to New York City.
Big
I'm
Apple
sorry.
here I come.
I'm sorry. Emma Frost, even when she was broke, would never get on a bus to go anywhere. So that was, I think, despite the many leaps this arc does, that was the really.
I assume they have a train line from Boston to New York that you can take if you really want. Like, I'm not saying it.
They have a train. They have, the flights are very cheap. Why would she's getting on a bus, I think. Isn't she getting on a bus?
Oh no, she's super getting on a bus because, again, she's a teen runaway. That's what you do.
I don't know. I mean, that was really like, I was like, of course, okay, whatever. So that's the last panel. And she's got blonde hair.
Yes.
At that point.
She has finally dyed her hair blonde.
She's finally the blonde Emma Frost we all know and love.
Which makes sense because she
I kind of do love the continuity piece that Emma dyes her hair blonde because she feels like it fits her aesthetic more. Like, that works for me.
I don't know anything about that. That's not anything I know.
Who would? Who would?
Yeah, I would dye my hair blonde if I just left 4 bodies, and because you guys are saying that she made them think they shot each other. No, they actually shot each other.
No, Adam, you're misreading it. They say afterwards, actually, no one died. She was like, yeah, I made them all think they killed each other. It was a great plan, Emma.
It would have been more in character for Emma if they did all kill each other.
Oh, she does say think they killed
did.
each
They all,
other.
And which is so, there's...
That's a cop-out.
It's all...
It is.
Yeah.
Like, these characters would shoot each other.
And she would make them. I think that's the one thing with this whole arc. It's like none of it at any point. I mean, neither did the first one really. None of it reflects who Emma ends up being. I mean, this is
because they want to jump from Emma Frost as this person who's not a mutant to Emma Frost, the X-Men's friend, and not Emma Frost did a lot of coke and did a lot of really bad stuff, and she's like working on herself now.
Yeah. Just Bowlers keeps doing these like issue end cliffhangers where you're like, oh, next issue, she's going to cut loose and it's going to be awesome. And then nothing happens. So it's very dull. So I really wish that there was more Card Shark fun here and less Emma in a cage, like not being able to do much about it.
This is a very 2004 Marvel comic.
I think it's a 2004 Marvel comic, but I think it's also the trap that like so many fall into is that in order for her to be redeemable, in order for her to be the character that we need her to be after this, she can't be. They had to make her a victim. So like we have to make her a victim, and she didn't have to be.
No,
I think in my mind, like, and I'm aging myself, but like when I always read Emma, especially during, and we'll get there, but the Generation X and the Hellions era and all that, she was a cold, smart woman who was just no nonsense, just a bitch, and I loved her for that. Like, and that was just like, maybe it was her upbringing, who she was, but that wasn't because she's like a victim that had to. That's her as a person, but they had to make her this victim, was just so annoying. Like this whole series, she's just a very reacting to her surroundings rather than having, like you said, Adam, like any agency of being like, you know what, I'm really gonna, you know what, I have this power, let's do a big heist, let's just take down this whole boat. It was just, oh wow, look what I did, I made $10,000. That was $10,000 for Emma Frost, even in the high school days. First arc would have been like, that's nothing, I could do better than this. So
right,
yeah,
we don't get the sense that this person is coming from wealth, that this person like is spoiled in any way. She's just willing to wash dishes
over a $50 bill,
right?
I mean,
at like an upscale restaurant. She did not actually order that much.
Yeah, it was weird.
The whole thing, like, you look at Emma, like, at her worst, body swapping the store. I'm like, that's not this girl. That's not the same person. Like, this is not the same person. And you can make that person not likable, but relatable in a way that doesn't need her to become this person who's like, oh no, I tried to steal $50 meal and Troy's going to let me sleep at his house after I washed it. Like, what in the...
No, she's not sleeping in Troy's bed. Like, when was the last time Troy washed his sheets?
Okay, that's fair. I don't see Troy as a frequent sheet washer.
Poor Troy started this episode is really high. We've just taken him down. We just keep
everyone as you're hearing this. You're probably listening to this in the morning. When you get home from work tonight, go wash your sheets.
Wash your sheets.
You'll feel better when you put them back on your bed. I know the fitted sheet's a pain, but you'll get into clean sheets tonight, and you'll be like, "Oh dang, yeah, that's why we do this."
Clean sheet day.
And then afterwards, after you wash your sheets, and that loan shark calls you and tries to offer you that loan again. Don't do it. Just don't do it. You don't need it.
Don't take that money.
You're fine.
I mean, right now, interest rates in general are really rising, so I understand.
Oh no, it's Zach's finance corner again.
That's not a finance statement. The Fed has been very open that they are increasing interest rates to try and slow down the inflation that we have been seeing. There's a lot of factors in this. We're not going to get into it. We did talk about inflation last week, didn't we?
From last week's 10 minutes of Zach's finance corner. So
hey, listen. Hey, I just want to play devil's advocate. If Troy had heard this, we could have avoided this entire kidnapping situation if he had the information that Zach is sharing right now. So
Troy could use a mentor like Zach. That's true.
He could have. He's gone now. He's gone.
Yeah, it's too late for Troy, but it's not too late for you if you want to sign up for my online cash.
Oh my god!
Cash class. It's a class full cash. Yeah, it's cash class. It's Zach's cash class.
Oh, that sounds great.
It's $29.99 a session. There's 4 sessions a day. It's mandatory to set up for at least a 4-week term, but we're really going to give you the tools you need to be successful in this big world of finance. Some of us went to business school. I got really good grades, so you got to trust me here.
This is a new reward on Patreon. Zach's finance classes. That's get rich quick scheme.
I'm almost 100% sure I need to say that this is not actual financial advice.
Yeah, we should say.
And your situation may be different.
Yeah.
You'll need to take that up with your accountant.
What we are qualified to do is rank X-Men stories. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about our big old list. Zach, what is our big old list?
We have 783 X-Men stories that we have been ranking over a period of time.
So many stories.
With the best X-Men story of all time being the House of X Powers of 10, the number 100th being Wolverine 48 and 50, the Shiva scenario. That's the one with the die cut claw cover.
Drives a motorcycle up the stairs.
It rules, actually.
I like that one.
Number 200 is All New Wolverine Enemy of the State 2. Number 300 is Generations Phoenix and Jean Grey. Number 400 is Uncanny X-Men 118, 119, The Submergence of Japan. 500 is Ultimate X-Men Stairs. That's the time that Charles Xavier gets thrown down the stairs by Mr. Sinister. Number 600 is that time Magma and Empath have this terrible one-shot in New Mutants 62. Number 700 is the X-Patriots arc of X-Factor. And number 783 is the worst X-Men story of all time. Say it with me, everyone. 2099 World of Tomorrow.
Yeah, it's really bad. So also really bad is the first arc of Emma Frost, Higher Learning, which is down at 665, just missing the mark of the beast. Would we agree that this is better than the first arc of Emma Frost?
I would say that this is better than the first arc of Emma Frost.
Would as well. However, I don't.
Emily's given us a little bit of like a. She doesn't. No. I don't think she wants to give this arc any props.
Okay,
and that's the challenge we face.
I hate the first arc, but it did at least. It was like, okay, we're gonna start a new arc. They had the chance to redeem it, and they just doubled down on everything that was bad in the first one. That's why I think it deserves a lower place. But on its own, it is better.
I'm going to ask you. Okay. I'm going to ask you this, Emily.
Yes.
Because I know you were reading comics frequently at the time this came out.
Mm-hmm.
Is this better or worse than the Secret Empire arc of X-Men Blue, where Emma Frost tries to make a teenage Cyclops into her sex slave?
I mean, that's just goals. It's like if you're. You've got Cyclops. The only time he's good is when he's I mean, I don't know. That's the Emma I love. That's the Emma I love. So that I would be better.
Her favorite. You heard it here. Emily Harding's favorite Emma is Terrigen Mist
No.
post IVX era.
I didn't say my
Emma.
favorite.
That's what she said. She said, "I love this. I love this Emma in this black suit and a bad helmet that she only wears once, but will never stop thinking about."
She's unabashedly her. Like that is Emma at like listening to like what she thinks needs to be done, and that's her being unapologetically herself. I love when a character is true to herself, and this whole arc I don't like because it's not Emma. It's just not Emma. It just doesn't nothing of it reads true to Emma. So as much as that she was a hot mess during that arc, I do love it because it's like, go crazy. That's why we like comics. Go crazy. Yeah, Team Scott, go for it. Why not? Let's do this.
That arc also has the reveal that the jet that they're flying around in turns out to be Danger. So that's fun.
It does also have Wolfsbane having the power to turn into 5 wolves.
Yes.
I mean,
there are some positives there.
Yeah.
So
okay,
if we're saying that's the ceiling,
is this better or worse than number 666 on the list, X-Man 67 to 70 Infinites of Evil
by Warren Ellis? Yes, this is better than that.
This is better than that.
Is this better or worse than the Axis Revolutions number 3 story drawn by Pepe Larraz where Kitty robs a bank?
Yeah, it's better.
Yeah.
Nothing happens there. And Kitty is also very out of character and holding an automatic weapon. It's no good.
I mean, she's intentionally out of character.
I just remember the art from that. I don't remember that story arc at all. I just remember the art was awesome.
It's 5 pages, so it's not that big of a thing. So it's fine.
All right,
I will say the beauty of Axis is this weekend while I was hanging out at my house, my son was playing in his room, and he did come up with the plot of Axis himself. He was like, well, the good guys went into the bad guy box and they became bad guys. But if a bad guy goes into the bad guy box, he becomes good guys. And I'm like, I'm really glad my 4-year-old's on the same level.
That's amazing.
Hire Marvel. Marvel's good at job.
Get him to the next retreat.
I'm not saying that they should be scripting everything. But if Marvel, like for 1 month, let a bunch of like kindergarten and younger kids plot the comics, I think we'd have a really fun time.
Yeah.
Listen, that's my entire defense of the 90s.
Yeah.
That's why I love you guys. Everybody hates 90s X-Men. I'm like, that's what it is. And it's fantastic.
Oh
Sorry.
my God.
I love it.
That's a very vivid description of Scott Lobdell and not an incorrect one.
No.
Well, we will get to Scotty later in this episode, but right now
Scotty Lobs?
We're going to fast forward to a later version of Emma Frost, one that Emily may not like as much because she's Emma is paired up with my favorite, and my favorite pairing, which is Skemma. This is Dark.
Stop calling it that. I've asked you for years. It's the worst sounding ship name anyone has ever come up with in the history of ship names.
If it was a good ship, it would have a better name.
Emmett.
We don't have to do this. We did this one time for Ben and Jennifer. And then they were like, and Bradgelina. And now we have to do it for everybody? No, it sucks. It's always sucked.
Scott and Emma, who I love. This is Dark X-Men, The Confession.
It is written by stars of stage and screen, Craig Kyle and Chris Yost.
Yeah.
Pencils by Bing Casino. Inks by Roland Paris. Edgar Delgado and Brian Reber. You know they're on those colors. This is a weird book to describe because it seems to be the book that they handed out to tell people, by the way, if you haven't been reading X-Men, here's the general gist of what's going on.
It's a weird bridge.
Yeah. So, Zach, for listeners who may not be familiar with this particular era, why are
the Dark Reign?
Why are the X-Men so dark?
Well, this is great. So, Adam, we talked economics. Let's talk politics. Have you heard of a false flag?
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Yes.
Calling Jesus a false flag, that's gonna ruffle some feathers, I feel. But I like how bold you're getting on this podcast. So Norman Osborn, the Green Goblin.
Yes. And his
He has been put in charge. He has been put in charge of all of the defense of the U.S. and therefore the world.
Mm-hmm.
And has assembled his own team of X-Men and also a secret team of all of the worst bad guys to rule the world, including Emma Frost, who he recruits.
Yes.
Emma is a double agent, working for herself, really. Like, she's a double agent, but she doesn't have a second agency. She's just like, I'm not actually working for you, Norman. You don't. I'm going to play you, and I'm not going to tell anyone, but it's going to be a fun trick later.
Namor knows, right?
Namor does not.
He doesn't
No. I'd have to reread Utopia, and there's a lot of great land
Don't
arc
do that.
around that.
Don't do that. Don't do
we haven't
that.
covered it on the podcast yet. One day, Adam, we're gonna have to go through all of Utopia.
Okay.
Get another drink.
Yeah. Oof. It's okay. So
this is post that though. This is post Cabal.
This
right?
is
during, right?
I think the issue came out after that.
Oh, okay.
But this is set explicitly before they have set up the Utopia Island and done all of that. So she has not revealed to Norman Osborn that she's bad. But this is saying, actually, she did reveal it to Scott earlier, and we all know. Because Emma says she feels really guilty because, well, what if I'm just an irredeemable bad person and everyone sees me as an irredeemable bad person? And Scott Summers is like, yeah, I've been having Wolverine and a bunch of teens do so much murder recently.
Out of context, this is the most comical issue, because every time she's like, Scott, this is really important, I need to talk to you, he's like, yeah, but what I'm saying is more important, so I'm just gonna talk over you, like every single time. And so she just at like mid-issue, she just starts talking because he's no longer interested in what she's saying, so she just starts talking, and it's played as if they're having conversation, but it's clear he's just steamrolling her and she's just trying to get it out, and he just keeps cutting her off. So he's like talks about the X-Force, like
he literally says to her, and I realize that I'm now doing this to you.
No, please, because I don't have it in front of me. Please.
He says, you never have to tell me that. This is about what I have to tell you. Now, if you're being charitable, because this happens on most of this issue happens on the astral plane, you could, because the way the issue is constructed, it's each page is one page is Emma narrating, one page is Scott. And if you want to be charitable, but I don't think it's successful in this goal, you could say that both of them are kind of just spewing these ideas at each other in the psychic plane. But
Adam,
that's not how it reads.
I'm going to say something. I'm going to say something that I learned very young. And it is about what our false flag Jesus gave to us. And that is 2 ears for listening, 1 mouth for speaking. It's very hard to be listening to someone when your mouth is running, Scott. I mean, maybe that's why you're sleeping on the couch, Scott.
Can we also, just for a moment, they're in a very large home.
Yes.
And him and Emma are having, very early in the issue, they have anyway, he decides to go sleep not in their room.
Yeah.
There is no other place for him to sleep but on a couch where the students find him in his underwear in the morning. There's so say there is no room in this entire house for you to sleep, Scott. Put on a shirt. Put on a shirt.
It's also implied that this is not the first time this has happened.
It is not, because he does this during the Sisterhood arc, and I remember because I read that issue several times because it was the only one I had. It's a terrible issue to reread a lot as a teen.
Yeah. God. Yeah, no, it just was like, that was like on the list of his sins in this. It is low, but it is still on the list. Like,
God, what are you doing?
I mean, yeah, that's an evergreen comment about him. But yeah, I think it was just him talking over her, and I understood what they needed to do with this issue, is that they were trying to again make it so that, there was some clean slate she was starting from, where she was coming from a place of hero, but her living in the gray area of morals is much more interesting than her being like, Scott, I have to tell you this, I hope everyone thinks I'm a good person. She's never cared about that previously,
right?
Except in that we're not, that arc.
We're past that. We're moved.
Yeah, I think that she's allowed to be bad.
It's weird and slightly out of character, right? Like for Emma to even, we get to a point once they've astrally projected their sins upon one another. He cuts her off as she finally tries to apologize, right? She's like, I'm sorry. And he says, I love you. And it's like, okay, but would Emma actually apologize? Is that in character? It doesn't seem so.
There's a reason why Morrison wrote it wrote it very specifically as her saying, listen, I made some mistakes. That's fine. There were a lot of extenuating circumstances in the 80s. Can we move on though? We're here now.
We're here now. I mean, honestly, that's her at her most like honest. And I think that especially that the whole idea of the Scott relationship is that like he sees her and they have some connection. Like she shouldn't ever need to feel like she needs to say this. And she's had, I'm trying to remember what, but I feel like in the past she's had those moments where she's like, you have to trust me. Like, this is what I'm doing. You have to trust me. And, you know, and he may feign anger, but he, in most part, does trust her. So why would this be a need for her to apologize? Or why would she have, it took so much leading up to that whole thing with Osborne. Like, it took so much coordinating on her part and like working it out. None of that. She didn't have a moment of, you know, oh, maybe this is wrong then. But it like, it's, I just don't know. It's like the retcon doesn't work for me.
It's
but
a
that's
weird.
Just me. And it's Scott. I think that tints it for me. I just, you know.
You're a notorious Scott hater if people haven't picked up on this.
I hate him, but it is like, as much as I think Emma's out of character, this is the most Scott that Scott has ever been. So I do think that we have to like appreciate that this is him at his most truest basic form.
I love that for him.
He's got some really great Keds on, it feels like, in this issue. Like whatever this footwear is he's wearing is really fun. So I don't think that this issue is helped by the artwork at all.
No,
we really didn't talk much about the artwork in the first arc, but you know, there wasn't really much to say about it, and
it was there.
Yeah,
it was
so
fine.
You know, Bing Cancino, I don't know. There's just something about this that's kind of unattractive. Like, I don't like the characters' faces. They don't seem to be on model, you know, of the era or ever. Yeah, this just doesn't feel right. And because it exists as a one-shot issue in the midst of like some grand company-wide crossover, it also strikes me as just, well, we need to sell another issue of X-Men.
I'm just going to say that Ben Cancino did 5 comics for Marvel ever, and that says something on how quickly they are churning an artist here.
Okay. I will say that this is the comic that gave me a lot of fodder. Again, another mid-pandemic creative escapade for me was when I started putting Michael Scott quotes in Scott Summers panels.
I forgot about that.
Michael Scott Summers, and this one I took so many because it's like the art's so bad, but it was so perfect of him looking slightly pathetic that it worked really, really well. So I do want to give props for that. He
is very pathetic in this. Yeah. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but you know what? Once art's in the world, it's not up to what you were going for. It's how we receive it.
So true.
So now that we've received it, let's talk about where it should go. Is this better or worse than what we were just talking about with our boat casino heist?
I think it's worse.
I think it's worse.
I agree.
Yeah, we did it. This is worse than Spider-Man, Power Man, Storm, Smokescreen.
It sure is, and that is at what, Zach?
673.
Yep. Okay, so let's keep working our way down the list.
Is this better or worse than Captain Marvel 2 and 3? That is, of course, the Secret Origin of Adam X, the Extreme.
Oh, that one's pretty bad. That art in that is pretty terrible.
Fabian Nicieza often wanted to, like, I don't know why people didn't understand what I was doing with Adam X, and that's because those issues are not very good.
Yeah. All right, I think I want to come back up a little bit, actually, because I don't think this is as bad as either X-Men or Weapon X Noir at 681 and 682. Those are terrible.
I heard a gasp from Emily.
No, a Weapon X Noir, that took me back. That was bad.
Yeah. Wolverine Noir, I'm a huge fan of.
No, the Weapon X
Noir. But the other two, they're really bad.
I would say that's above that.
Is it better or worse than Wolverine the Vigil? That is, of course, from Marvel Comics Presents 1 through 9. That's the story about Wolverine's wizard daughter with crystal claws.
I think this is better than that, but I can't go higher. I can't go higher than 677, Incredible Hulk 148, which is the first appearance of Super Dr. Astronaut Peter Corbeau.
Yeah, Chris Claremont's first actual Marvel comic.
Yeah, that one's better.
So slide it right there underneath.
I don't know. Is this better than Time Storm 2009 2099 X-Men one-shot?
I think it is, yeah.
Okay, fine. Look, 2099's having a moment. There's Miggy O'Hara is in a movie.
I know.
played by Oscar Isaac.
Chris Anka doing all of the character work behind the scenes and developing that look. I mean, it's good. I am so happy that Chris
He does
Anka
look like a Chris Anka
is
character,
making
like with
that
his face off.
money, man. Just like making the announcement, I'm not doing comics anymore. Good for you, Chris Anka.
I want Chris Anka to make all the money in the world.
Yes.
Great for him. If anyone needs like cover designs for a book or something, maybe give Chris Anka a call. I'm sure he has thoughts about the settings of New York streets. I don't know. I think he did Ninja Turtles for a while. That's in New York. That counts.
Yeah.
I don't know which Ninja Turtles he did. I stopped paying attention to Ninja Turtles when I stopped being a child, except for,
Zach. How dare you?
I'm sorry, I didn't watch Ninja Turtles cartoons in 2012.
No, you don't have to watch the cartoons. I'm just saying they're still like making good stuff.
Hold on, because I got very good Ninja Turtles related news today when 4 different people tried to tag me to tell me there's going to be DLC for the Ninja Turtles beat 'em up game on video games, where Miyamoto Usagi is going to be a playable character now, and that is my jam. I'm staring at a Miyamoto Usagi calendar right now. It's got a little drawing of the rabbit by Stan Sky.
Yeah, Zach's like, screw the Ninja Turtles. I would
only. Here's the thing: my kids would be like, "Yeah, oh shoot, my kids would actually really like. I gotta buy this game now." My kids would want to be the Ninja Turtles, and I'd be like, "You guys do I know you don't care about this rabbit with a sword that I love, but he's in the game, and we're gonna be him now."
That's awesome.
They'll love it.
That's really cool.
They'll love it.
Eventually, my son will read the best comic series, Asagi Yojimbo, which we cannot rank on this list because it would all be tied for even, and then Space Asagi below that. That's my hot take on Asagi Yojimbo.
All right, so
what's the last story that we're doing that doesn't involve Samurai Rabbit?
Well, Emily, is this your favorite era? This is Generation X era, Emma?
I do. I mean, I do love 90s Generation X. It is a favorite. This is when it started going, but it was, this is still my favorite, yes.
This is Generation X 55 through 56, written by Jay Faber, who I once heard someone describe as X-Men legend Jay Faber. And I was like, oh, guys, nothing against him, but we're giving a little bit of credit.
Yeah.
Terry Dodson and Rachel Dodson are doing the art on that, and I like the Dodson's art.
I'm loving the art here.
Emily, what's your Dodson-based feelings?
It's fine.
Oh.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
You're allowed to know. You can know. This is a show about hot opinions. We are in our attitude era. I don't think I said that
let's get
earlier.
the hot takes.
But we're all deep. I forgot. I'm sorry, guys. I know we're in our attitude era. And let me bring this back from the start because we need to respect the tradition. Can I get a hell yeah?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyway, your attitude era thoughts about the Dodsons.
I mean, listen, he did some of my favorite stories. There's nothing, there's something to me about the cartoonishness of it that it didn't, he's not good at, and this is a good example, these 2 issues, that there are, and this is also the 90s, so I'm trying to be kind, but a lot of the moments where, there was emotion, they had to emote something, and there was a push for, well, make sure M is at least sticking her chest out while she's huddled over Jubilee's almost dead body. Like there was, and that doesn't say that you can't show the ladies off while also being emotive, because God knows Chris did it. Like, Kubert did it. Like there's plenty of people in the 90s who are doing it. It's just, he's like, all right. And he makes it's very 2-dimensional in what it's trying to do in the panel for me.
Emily, I don't think it's that hot of a take to say Terry Dodson might do some cheesecakey art from time to time.
No, and I think he does. Like that's his shtick though. Like his doing the cheesecake, like that is him. But I do think that there's not been that evolution of like you could maybe put a little emotion on her face. You could make her have some tears in her eyes. I don't know. It never.
She doesn't have to be a sexy crying baby. Like she can be.
I don't think she's crying in that. He didn't even make the effort of putting tears in her eyes. I think she literally is just like holding.
She's just standing there. Just standing there. Here's what I'll say. I think the Dodson is fantastic, if only because he really does get the characters on model. Like they have distinct faces in ways that a lot of others just ignore. But he is always preoccupied, like what Emily is talking about, with making everybody look super pretty. So that is at its detriment, because Generation X, if you go back to, the original, with Chris Picciolo, everybody's kind of ugly. Like there's that like Vertigo.
That was kind of their shtick,
right?
Thing, though.
Like,
yeah, they're weirdos.
Like
they weren't
Skin,
supposed to be.
Skin's looking pretty handsome here, and it's like, well, Skin's not
He's
supposed to
tightening
look
himself
handsome.
up.
Right.
Even Husk was like not supposed to, even though she was attractive, she wasn't supposed to. And also, I think that I haven't revisited this era of Generation X in a while, but there's also a weird disconnect with M, where she's very much white-coated, more white-coated in this than I've seen her before. Like she's not drawn how previous, she looks very much like, not even just light skin. She almost looks like she's white. And I'm like,
right.
Oh, wait a minute. I never recognized that. I think when I read it in the 90s, because I was, a kid and didn't recognize that. But I thought that was weird. And all the characters looked a little bit off from their authentic selves, I should say. M was always the most beautiful one. And she was always unabashed about, her being dark skinned and beautiful and gorgeous and like who she was and that whole era of her. And this was like, I don't know. She looked very much like a lot of other Dodson characters, and there wasn't that uniqueness.
Oh, I'll agree with that. I think he struggles with, in this, multiple varied body types, which is a big thing. Like, all the dudes look buff. My boy Chamber is not going to the gym.
He was so ripped in this, and I was like, "Who is this?"
Chamber's just one of those terrible guys who is naturally thin, and we just have to live with him. But he's not swole.
No.
Dude does not lift.
Now,
what's interesting in this issue is that Chamber isn't all Chamber in this issue, and not in Generation XR, because wouldn't you know it, they wake up one day and they are the Hellions.
It sure does look like that. And not only are they the Hellions, so we do get this fantastic 2-page spread of the team all in the Hellions gear, looking into the mirror and seeing the original Hellions looking back, which is just very, very well done by Dodson. But for, fans of a specific era of X-Men, aka Mutant Genesis, they will recognize that these characters are now flashing back to Uncanny X-Men 281 when the Hellions died at the Hellfire Club.
And they try and stop it because they're like, wait, we're in the past. We can stop it. Emma's really she's not happy about what happens here. She, at minimum, gets put into a big coma for a while.
Right.
Also, she has some stress about her students being viciously murdered.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean,
they try and stop it. They try and stop it.
They do. Yeah, I guess. But they're also trying to figure out why. M wakes up halfway through and so she realizes it's not real. So they're kind of half-assed trying to stop it and also trying to figure out what's happening.
Well, and M goes and gets her Emma Frost. The Emma Frost that is at the Massachusetts Academy. Brings her into it. And there is a scene that I do think works, even if I think the script works. I don't think that the emotions, I think it's fair to say that Dodson could be putting a little bit more effort on it. But where Emma tells younger Emma that said, hey, this sucks.
Yeah.
Sorry, this sucks. This doesn't define you though. Like this isn't the only thing that's happened in your life. And it's going to be, there's brighter days ahead. And Emma's not exactly an optimist, but I think that is very telling to what we were talking about earlier on how Emma approaches things, that life happens and you can only let yourself be defined by the past for so long. And you just have to keep doing what is going on now.
That's what I think. And honestly, as much as, this was revisiting something that's already happened and has Trevor Fitzroy in it, and it's a whole thing. The idea that she turns to herself and says that is more character development than I think we've seen the other two issues we talked about. And I think that's what I always loved about the old Generation X, is that as much as it's about this new group, and yes, they're not the glossy X-Men and they're, at the different academy and they're trying to find their place. Emma's working on herself as much as she's working on this new group of kids. And you see why she's a teacher more, and her working on herself. And that was that moment for her was really important. So I do love that moment, even though how we got there was kind of messy.
It is.
Yeah.
And also messy in this, we find out at the end,
is what's happening.
It turns out Adrian Frost is just like, I'm the White Queen now. You all suck. Bye.
I love it. It's such I don't know. It's such a power move. She's such a bitch. I love it.
He's the worst.
I love it. She's just like, yeah, I'm just messing with your life. See you guys later. Suckers.
I hate you, Emma. Goodbye.
She's got an awful costume.
Oh, that costume is terrible.
Well, if you've got issues that, maybe if that's what makes her happy, Adam, she's trying to find her happiness, so it's fine.
It looks like what a super rich woman would wear to the Met Gala themed for superheroes.
No, but that's
or super villains.
That's why essentially like Adrian Frost got dressed and she's like, what do superheroes wear? And she's got more money than God, so that's what she did. And it's so ridiculous and over the top because exactly what a billionaire who is slightly unbalanced would probably wear, and I love that for her.
It's in character.
Good for her.
It's very
good
in
for
character.
Her.
It is.
Absolutely.
It's just the worst, though. I hate that costume. It looks
it's so bad.
Horrible.
It's great for her.
I also think that one of the very amusing things about these two issues is by revisiting this Jim Lee and Will Sportasio with like some script like shenanigans with John Byrne. It really highlights what a freaking mess that story was too, because you have the the Fitzroy thing, but then you also have the Sentinels coming in from from Australia, and it's just like, oh right, like wow, that probably looked really cool when Wills drew it, but like as a story, it is not very coherent.
I like Jubilee sitting around like, I was like hanging out with people at this time. I'm not sure what's going on right now.
Yes, I was not in this issue.
I love when I got this from you guys, and I was like, "Oh, I haven't read that in so long." Then I went back and read the Hellions' death, and I was like, in my mind, I'm like, I can't be remembering that right. I mean, the Sentinels weren't. I mean, there was so much that happened. I was like, I'm conflating 3 or 4 issues, and I wasn't. It's all that. It's all there, and it's just like it's so. So I do. Yeah, they're trying to maybe make sense of it, but.
I think they're trying to put emotional beats to it and like emphasize that, hey, yeah, all of her students did die. That's probably going to like throw her off now that she's a teacher again.
You know what's most disturbing about this is that I reread it for me personally, and is that I read these issues as a kid, and in my kids' toy closet, there's a Trevor Fitzroy action figure that I bought. For some reason, I still went out and bought after reading these. I was like, you know who I should buy an action figure of? Trevor Fitzroy. That's like something and then I should hold on to it for 30 or 20, however many years, because that's something like, why would you even make that character?
That's
Don't
so
count,
funny.
Zach. Don't count.
Listen. Yeah. I could have been reading these comics when they were coming out. I wasn't, but I'm still old enough that I could have been reading these comics when they were coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I was young enough that I was buying action figures, but of like all the action figures, when I was rereading these, and I was like, why did I buy that? Or why did they make it? It was just it's a messy time, but it was also amusing that they at least they threw them in. They were trying to make sense of something that even then, that was not that far back. That wasn't like they were revisiting.
No, it was like 8 years ago.
They were just trying to like, hey, by the way, we're going to try to make that make sense now.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
It is like if today they were like, hey, y'all, remember that time when there was a Terrigen Mist cloud and everyone was getting murdered? What was up with that? That was a weird thing we all did, right?
Let's time travel back to Ivy.
That's as far back as we're talking.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is something very amusing though about like if you do read the two versions of the same scenario with the two very different art styles. I think that is really interesting to see, Will's kind of in his like messy, scratchy, like gadgets and little gizmos, going everywhere. And like Terry is like, no, this is going to be clean. This is going to be like precise and not a line is going to be out of place. It's interesting, like to see a Fitzroy drawn in that style. Looks silly.
No, I was just gonna say it was funny because I think that like while it's clean and precise, that moment of the attack was actually really confusing in the Generation X one because it is so precise, and I'm like, wait, what's happening? Whereas with the old art, it was like so I don't know, abstract, but it made more sense. It's big, and it made it seem like it was a big thing. And this was like, because I guess he was so precise, it lost some of its gravitas. I was like, wait, is that moment now? It was confusing.
Well, it's funny because the Sentinels that come in, I think in 281 look huge.
Right.
And these Sentinels look like they're about 6 feet tall.
Yeah. So they're dude sized.
Like, hey, we're here to kill you. Hey, everybody.
Yeah, so true.
It's a whole thing.
To be fair, they probably didn't anticipate that people would be able to look up online or the comic from however many years ago and compare right then. They were like, they won't notice. They won't notice. Fine.
They've never been consistent about height on those boys.
It's true.
Do you know what else is inconsistent, Adam?
This list.
Our list, yeah. Listen, sometimes choices are made in the moment, and that's fine.
That's okay.
I would say that at 546, we have the stories that directly precede this. Generation X 53 to 54, Big Trouble in Madripoor, a story about... No, it's not Nomad. What's his name? The guy who sucks.
Paladin.
Jesus.
Paladin. That one. He also sucks. This is better than that.
I would agree, if only because this has like a little bit of the nostalgia kick involved, but I don't think it's that much better.
Yeah, we're not going that further up the list.
Hold on, because at 530 is Deadpool Bad Blood. I think this is better than Deadpool Bad Blood.
This is definitely better than Deadpool Bad Blood. Yes.
I know. I'm just saying, this didn't get a sequel. Deadpool Batter Blood is out now.
So weird.
Oh yeah, it came out this week. Like literally today, Emily. Yeah. It's very weird.
What?
Yeah. There's batter blood out there.
Yeah, people really are waiting to hear the further adventures of Thumper.
Guys, what are we doing? What are we doing? That makes me sad. Okay, it's better than I guess the first one is now what we're saying. All right,
it's better than the first Deadpool Bad Blood. Based on one issue, it's also better than Deadpool Batter Blood.
Okay, good.
But there is a new character called Shatterstorm, who is a girl Shatterstar. So that promises to be a weird thing that Rob Liefeld's about to do to us.
Jesus Christ.
No, he's not. He's not doing that.
Yeah, he is.
Is the character related to Storm, like Major X is?
I don't. She's very white.
Okay.
But is she Dazzler related? Like, is it like that whole? Is he inserting new mythology there?
She looks like. All we know is that there is a girl Shatterstar named Shatterstorm who has swords that are poorly drawn.
Let me tell you, that's probably as much as he's thought about it too. Speaking of the Rob, though, at 528 and 529, we have the end.
Rob's just really tight in this area of the list.
Yeah, we have the end of New Mutants, and then at 529, we have one of my personal faves, Shattershot.
This is better than Shattershot. Shattershot's a bad comic.
Okay, better than the end of New Mutants.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think we need to probably work our way up just a little bit here.
Is this better or worse than Dazzler 13? As we all remember what Dazzler 13 is.
I was going to say,
I definitely wrote it down, right?
What the heck happens in Dazzler 13?
Dazzler 13.
Oh, no, Dazzler 13's better.
What is that one? The wrestling issue?
That's the prison fight. The prison wrestling.
Yeah, that one's way better.
That's the ladies' prison wrestling.
Yeah, no, that's way better. I would go to bat for the first 5 issues of Extraordinary.
Oh no, Kenneth is heavy in that issue. Kenneth, best Dazzler character, Kenneth.
Her lawyer. Ken with his Ronald McDonald hair.
Oh my gosh, Ken's
love
him.
Yeah,
that one's better than this.
This probably isn't as good as the New Mutants 15 to 17 Hellions.
No, it's not as good as that at all. Yeah. Actually, this isn't as good as the G. Willow Wilson X-Men Burning World at 518.
All right, better or worse than the Rise and Fall of the Shi'ar Empire at 520?
Shorter.
Emily, what do you think?
You guys are. I'm biased. That's all, the Shi'ar Empire stuff is so bad, and I love it. So I don't know. I mean, I would say this is probably better. I do love the nostalgia.
Okay, that's about Vulcan, though. Do you love Vulcan? No. Scott Summers' worst brother?
I mean, no.
His worst brother.
His worst brother's Gambit. Let's go over that. No, I think it's better. It's better than that. Yes.
All right.
It's still better than that because of nostalgia. I like it.
Okay, and then we've got What If Legion Killed Magneto at number 77, or at 519. I don't remember What If.
This is better than that. So this can be our new 519.
Great, Adam. Thank you for reminding me that was a weird 90s issue of What If.
That's what I'm here for.
I do. We give What Ifs a hard time, but I think a lot of noble and fine people have asked What If, like, what if Jane Austen's Emma was taking place in the modern era in New York City?
That transition was so good. Like, in the list of transitions,
we pride ourselves on our work.
That was really good. No, I appreciate it. That is a what if. And if people do wonder that, Zach, Well, there's a book now that can maybe answer that I wrote, which is nice, with my good friend Audrey Beleza. So
and what's that book? What's
It's
that book?
Emma of 83rd Street, out now.
Out now. It's a great read. I read it in under 24 hours. So people should be like, oh, that seems like a nice, fun thing. Look, it's summertime.
Yeah.
It's a perfect,
Get that beach read.
Book. Totally.
Get that beach read on.
You might be taking a long car trip. You might be getting on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
You might just like to curl up in the evenings with a good book in between your games of The Legend of Zelda. And this is a great solution for all of that.
Love it. You're going to do an next blurb, Zach. That was great.
Thank you. You know, I try. I'm glad that I can contribute next to all of the famous authors on the back of your book who I didn't read any of their stuff, but I assume they're important.
Can I also make a confession that when we were supposed to submit blurbs, I submitted one from you that when I put in, I don't know what article I submitted to you, and you just sent me back an email and you're like, oh, you, it runs tomorrow. And I was like, Zach Jenkins, it just said, oh, you with the blurb. And they were like, no. And I was like, okay, well,
so funny.
It was great. It's one of my favorite comments I've ever gotten for anything. Like,
amazing.
That's incredible. Love that. Folks, buy that book.
Yeah.
Just do
and
it.
Emily, if people want to maybe like follow you online, see what's going on, where should they go?
Yeah, well, I'm on Twitter. My handle is Emily Writes Good.
She does.
Or Emily Harding Writes. Those are both on Twitter. And then on Instagram, it's Emily Harding Writes. So if you're on any of those platforms, I've been told I have to go on TikTok. I haven't yet.
For the youths?
The youths are telling me that.
You know, you gotta. I hear that book talk definitely moves the needle.
I know, but they're all very clever and they're all really smart in the way that they create videos, and I'm not there. So I enjoy watching their videos. I have to.
Can you enlist some teens to help you?
Child labor.
I heard the teens are really good at TikToks.
Do we know?
I do appreciate that. My 11-year-old, I showed her one video I tried to make, and she's like, "Mom, that's super cringe." And I was like, "Cool, all right. Well, then I'm gonna go die. I'm gonna go curl up in the bathroom and cry in the shower."
The number of times
very cringe core.
Very cringe core.
My son has not picked up on cringe yet, which I'm very happy about.
It's coming.
Oh my gosh, it's coming so soon.
If the kids are still saying it, by the time
they
gets
won't
old
be saying
enough,
it.
they'll be saying something else.
My son is dabbing at a lot of situations. I thought they quit that.
It's
I thought
okay.
They stopped doing dabs.
You can be a little late on trend. It's okay. He's little.
He's doing water bottle flips. He's doing dabs. He's really.
Maybe it's come back around. Maybe it's like ironic dabbing to water bottle flipping. I don't know.
I love it.
I don't know what he's doing. But it's great, guys. Check out what Emily's got going on. Thank you so much for joining us this week. It was an absolute blast.
Oh my gosh, you guys, thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun. I'm just tickled that you guys asked me.
It's an honor for us, so thank you.
Honor and a privilege and a pleasure. Unlike next week where we have to talk about Exiles. So,
yeah. So just because this episode did not come from a specific request, folks, remember to go over to patreon.com/comicsxf. Sign up, spend some dollars. They don't cost many, and you can get a show made all about your thing. We've got some new patrons recently who are making some requests. So be one of those
requests.
Yeah, be one of those people. But be warned that we are in the Boditude era, even though Zach doesn't like to call it that. And
we don't call it that. It's Attitude Era. It's a whole
bit.
It's going to make sense in like some number of episodes. It's going to make sense what I'm doing with
yes,
it.
But the Boditude does extend to the fact that Zach and I will be making some picks in the coming weeks too. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, adam.rec, Twitter at Arthur Stacy, and Zach is right. Unfortunately, we're talking about Exiles next week.
We are. Never try and find me online. That's the number one rule. Emily, it's been a blast. Thank you so much. This has been Battle of the Atom, and we hope you survived the experience.
Get it!